Hello everyone, I am Ramesh Ghimerey of Namchi Government College, South Sikkim, is presenting you all a short explanation on the topic D flip-flop, which is given to us by our respected Sir Dr. C.P. Khatioda as our assignment for term paper 2, which is for our partial fulfillment. I would like to pay my sincere regards to all the teachers of our physics department for enlightening us with so much of unique works and knowledge. So I am going to start my presentation. Introduction to flip-flop. A flip-flop is a circuit that has two stable states and can be used to store state information. A flip-flop is nothing but it is a simple circuit that has two stable states, one is high and another one is low, and it is used to store the state information. It is the basic storage element in sequential logic. It follows the logical order. A flip-flop stores a single bit of binary data. One of its two states represents 1 and another represents 0. Now D flip-flop. Now what is D flip-flop? A D flip-flop are also known as delay flip-flop or data flip-flop. It is also known as delay flip-flop or data flip-flop. They are used to store one bit of binary data. It is used to store one bit of binary data. They are one of the widely used flip-flop in digital electronics. Apart from being the basic memory element in digital system, D flip-flop are also considered as delay line elements and zero order hold element. D flip-flop have two inputs. One is a clock input and another one is data input. And it have two input and it has two output. One is main output represented by Q and other is complement of Q represented by Q bar. The need of D flip-flop. Now why do we need a D flip-flop? One of the main disadvantages of SR flip-flop is that when the input S equals to 1 and input R equals to 1, then both the output are same, that is 1. But this type of output is not true because output must be complement of each other, because always output is complement of each other. So to remove this type of invalid state or this error, we require a D type flip-flop. Now this is the circuit diagram of D flip-flop. The whole circuit is designed with the help of AND gate and NOR gate. It has one main input D and the clock is also act as input. In the circuit, the output of one NOR gate is fed as input of other NOR gate. The output of one NOR gate is act as an input for other NOR gate. The final output of D flip-flop is Q and Q bar, where Q bar is always complement to Q. If the Q is 0, then the Q bar is 1, and if the Q bar is 1, then the Q is 0. So this is the circuit diagram of D flip-flop. Truth table of D flip-flop. This is the truth table of D flip-flop. When clock input is 0, the output is also 0. The output is also 0, that is Q n plus 1. In this state, we doesn't require any input D, so that there is a cross. And this stage is known as the memory stage. When clock is 0 and the output is also 0, then this stage is known as the memory stage. Now, when clock equals to 1, and input D equals to 0, when clock is equals to 1 and input D equals to 0, the output is also 0. Now the output is also 0, and this stage is known as the reset stage. This second stage is known as the reset state. when clock equals to 1 and input D equals to 1, when clock is 1 and input is also 1, then final output is also 1, then the final output is also 1, and this stage is known as the set stage. This stage is known as the set stage. Now this is all about the truth table of D flip-flop. Now the working of D flip-flop, how it works. The D flip-flop will store and output whatever logic level is applied to its data terminal so long as the clock input is high. Once the clock input goes low, the set and the reset input of the flip-flop are both held at logic level 1. Logic level 1. So it will not change state and store whatever data was present on its output before the clock transition occur. This is all about the working of D flip-flop. Now working of D flip-flop. How it is work? The D flip-flop will store and output whatever logic level is applied to its data terminal so long as the clock input is high. Once the clock input goes low, the set and reset input of the flip-flop are both held at logic level 1, so it will not change state and store whatever data was present on its output before the clock transition occur. So this is all about the working of D flip-flop. Now the advantages of D flip-flop. What are the advantages of D flip-flop? The intermediate stage is eliminated. There is single input that can be used for setting or resetting. It has only a single input and that can be used for setting or resetting. This device remembers the value of input D data when CPU was last high. So this is the advantages of D flip-flop. Now the disadvantages of D flip-flop. The main disadvantages of D flip-flop are: a delay flip-flop or D flip-flop is a circuit increase the circuit size often twice the normal. The delay flip-flop increase the circuit size often twice the normal. They also make the circuit more complex. D flip-flop make the circuit more complex by adding the maximum number of gates. So this is the disadvantages of D flip-flop. Now the applications. What are the applications of D flip-flop? A D flip-flop are one of the most widely used D flip-flop. Some of the application of D flip-flop are: it is used as the data storage register. It is used as the data storage register, and it is also used as data transferring as shift register. It is also used as the frequency division circuit, and D flip-flop can be used to create delay lines which are used in digital signals processing system. So these all are the application of the D flip-flop.